Hello, everyone. Hopefully the stream's working. Just let me know if you guys can hear me and all that stuff. Haven't updated the XG, but we will hopefully do that over the course of the live stream. I've literally just made a move in FPL, so Saka to Palmer's done, and yeah. Oh, how's everyone doing? Hey Nish, nice to see you. The Mitch Martin, nice to see you. Derek as well. You can hear me. I actually think Timber. I mean, if you had to give me a Timber sort of start percentage, I'm almost thinking that Timber's probably like 60-40, like probably that he starts. I personally have a sneaking suspicion that White will kind of start this game, but I could be completely wrong. I just think that the risk that Timber has of not starting just completely threw me off wanting to go for Timber, especially as a hit. Start you or Thiago or Ellie Anderson. I probably would do Ellie Anderson if I'm honest. Matt Bullock's nice to see you around. Start Thiago Krupi. I think I would actually go with. I'd probably just punch Krupi. You were worried I wasn't here? Yeah, just about made. I just finished work. Unfortunately, work kind of went a little bit over. Your usual Friday 5 p.m. But yeah, nice to see you, Joe. Do you tend to stream as well, Joe? Jonas says start Garner or Anderson. I probably would do Anderson for sure. High Fran best mid 6.5. At this moment in time, I still think probably the best punt is maybe Ismaili Assar. I quite like Ahmed Diallo as well. Anish, thank you so much for the super chat. Start Rogers, Munoz, or Hill. I'd probably still actually just start Rogers from that perspective. Keen to Timber for free. I don't think is necessarily worth a move this week, unless you think Keane's definitely out with Mikalenko coming back. EY, hey, Fran bench one, Teo, Maguire, Krupi. I probably would bench Krupi in that instance. Reece James, 20 point depending. Could be. But I don't know. I mean, like, he obviously clearly has something that he's sustained, right? So let's see what happens. Bit of a late stream, definitely as well, Rohit. Nice to see you around, and hopefully I can catch up with you soon. I'll check Discord DMs in a moment. Sheila Cullen, thank you so much for joining as a captain of the channel. I really appreciate you reaching out as well on email. That was a nice, heartwarming email to read, so thank you so much for joining. Us today, start Senesi or Munoz. I think I would just start Senesi. Good evening, Fran. Do I bench or start Guehi over Senesi this week? I think that I would play. I think I'd play Senesi personally. Anderson or Chalaba? I think I'd definitely go with Chalaba. Might as well captain Palmer. No, I still think Bruno's outright better. I kind of like the home game piece, and of course the sort of all routes to points aspect of Bruno, plus the guaranteed nature of the minutes. Philip, nice to see you around. Sada, thank you for being a member for 13 months. But yeah, going back to Anisha's super chat, which I haven't missed, obviously. Your team's Kelleher, Gabriel, Chalaba, Munoz. Ooh, nice. Okay, we're starting Munoz this week. Timber, Wirtz, Enzo, Rice, Bruno, and Bumo. Forward being Thiago. You're benching Holland. Oh gosh. Okay. Well, I still think Krupi should go ahead of Mukiele in terms of the bench order. Um, Benching Holland is interesting, but I mean, I kind of get it if you think that he's really not going to play. Be Rich, thank you so much for the super chat. Just to thank you. Well, thank you so much back, and yeah, really do appreciate that, and thank you so much for the support, my friend. Um, really do appreciate it. Start Madueke and Bumo. I think I'd probably. You have to find a way to start both. You honestly just have to. Um, I just can't see why you wouldn't. Um, yeah, a couple chat messages in terms of Discord as well. So let's just have a look at Discord. Kashif, I think, what I would do with your team. You're thinking, I mean, you've got a lot of free transfers, so I don't really mind Thiago to JP if you want to do that. You then want to downgrade Cherky to Caicedo. I don't really think Caicedo is a very great pick, if I'm honest. I think it's very short-termist. I don't really like that move. Do you have to do the downgrade? Because if you think about it, the more you downgrade the rest of your team, and I guess you do need to find some way to get the funds from Dorgu. You kind of actually no, you kind of need to just. Well, no, looking at your team, okay, you've got triple Arsenal, so that's fine. I guess Tarkovsky is not the most amazing pick at this moment in time. I'd probably still sell Cherky. I think Njai is going to serve you quite well. I mean, especially since Njai is not someone who's going to blank game week in 31, right? So I think I would say bidding off your City players probably helps your team a little bit more. Oh, sorry, you're going to do Cherky to Caicedo. I've misread that. Yeah, I think Cherky down makes quite a lot of sense for yourself. Um, even like a Douglas Luiz kind of makes sense as a pick if you want to just start saving money. This way, you can also just put money into an upgrade on Dorgu in the future and things like that. And you can also get the Joao Pedro money this week at least. So you don't really need to do anything with defenders this week. I agree. Just do Cherky and Thiago if you want to. I do think the Thiago move is a little bit unnecessary. So that's up to you, really. I mean, like, I don't think it's actually crazy that your team could just play a 3-4-3 this week. Like, I think, but I think I'd probably want a better defender than Guehi, if I'm honest. So maybe it's actually keep Thiago, but then upgrade Guehi. And an upgrade could be someone who's cheaper as well, like someone who kind of fits in line. Like, for example, Anderson makes sense. In terms of chat messages from some of the members as well, just switching back to live chat, Croupier KDH, the latter 0.42 last game. Yeah, I mean, I think that this is Fulham away for Everton. I kind of think Croupie's just marginally better than Dewsbury Hall this week. I'm not that interested in Palmer captain. Sorry, Philip. Start Teo or Virgil. I think it has to be Teo for sure. Vice Gabriel lock. Yep, that is a lock for me. Did I miss anything in terms of chat? Any news on James? Not that I've really seen. Thoughts on Croupier Calvert-Lewin? I think I would play Croupie just about this week. Mbumo for Wilson or roll. I think I quite like Mbumo in. But this is actually a really good Wilson game, so I really wouldn't be too worried about that, by the way. If you guys are here as well enjoying the live stream, thank you guys so much for joining. I'm sorry about joining late. We've got 10 minutes to make moves. So yeah, like the stream as well. That helps. Please don't spam in chat. Otherwise, I'm just not going to answer the question. Don't use all caps as well. Philip says, do I go Senesi / Anderson plus Rice for Timber plus Dango? I kind of like the Rice move personally because I just think it's so unnecessary to play with fire in terms of Timber this week. And also you can revisit Dango when the fixtures are actually better in a few weeks' time. Croupier or Rogers, I think I'd just play Croupie. Hey, Fran, how are you doing? I only have one Arsenal. Should I focus on getting 3 or look at other transfers? No, you should be focusing on getting 3 because Sunderland at home is a good fixture. It makes the most sense for the next 2 weeks to have Arsenal players tripled up. Would you take a hit to bring in Croupie? I don't think it's worth the hit, personally. I don't think this is that supreme a fixture, but it's nice that he's at home. Is Chio to Chalaba a dumb move? I think it's not a dumb move, but I think it's totally unnecessary. But once again, for example, moves like that could be an upgrade for 2 to 3 weeks, and I can kind of see the value of it if you have something like 4 to 5 transfers. But if you're on a one free transfer basis, it's just not really worth it. Hi, Fran. Really love your content. Thank you so much, Navide. You're honestly so nice, my friend. So thank you so much every week for dropping a nice message in the chat. I really do appreciate that. She says, if I do Guehi to Anderson to start, do I start Cherky or Anderson for sure? I would probably skip the Thiago move, but if you really want to punt on JP and you have a lot of free transfers, as you know yourself, you can go for the JP move. But I kind of think in a few weeks' time, you'll probably be doing, like, maybe you'll have JP for three weeks, and maybe that's good enough. So maybe you could do JP for 3 weeks and then go back to Thiago. Did I miss your super chat? Let me see. Oh, sorry about that, my friend. Bench 1 of Thiago, Teo, Maguire, Rogers. Yeah, I think I answered the question, right? So I think you have to kind of bench Rogers there, I would say. I think this is a really good Maguire game. I kind of think Thiago is still a little bit more consistent than Rogers in terms of just points and routes towards points. So I kind of like Thiago just about. It's a tough call. I think Maguire starts, obviously, with Delict still being out. So I think that's actually quite a nice game and still the chance to get DEFCON. Olof, is it for Ranmi? Thank you so much for sending the super chat. I can't really see a message, so I'm gonna look out for your message. But thank you so much for the super chat. Is it? It's kind of weird because I think on YouTube I can't really see the full usernames. But Lord Baelish, thank you so much for the super chat as well. Hey Fran, Trossard, Evan Nilsson, and Wilson 2 starts. I think I would. That's actually quite tough. I would say Everton's probably maybe marginally a better. I kind of like Wilson and Trossard, if I'm honest. I think I'd go Wilson and Trossard. It feels a bit bad benching Evan Nilsson, but I think Trossard actually not playing within the Chelsea game just means he's going to get good minutes versus Sunderland at home, which I quite like. And then Wilson, I think, is always going to get good minutes. So it's kind of just a battle versus Evan Nilsson in terms of like who's better, Wilson or Evan Nilsson. And I kind of think Wilson's a marginally a bit better. So that's kind of, yeah. So thank you. You posted your team on Discord. Yeah, let me just quickly have a look at some Discord messages. Unfortunately, it's been a super busy week for me this week, as you can see, obviously with the late finish. Is anyone actually captaining? Actually, just a good question. Actually, just generally for the chat, I'm kind of curious. Captaincy, game week 25. So I'd say Gabriel is an option. I think Bruno is quite a popular option. I'm gonna say Haaland just out of respect, and then we're gonna have other. Just kind of curious to see what you guys are cooking up in terms of captaincy. Dr. Yazan, I'm looking at your team right now. Love the team. I think Keane's bench, but probably obviously it's still a pretty good fixture. Watkins is fit, that is true. Let's see. There's really no news on Timber starting, so unfortunately you're just never going to get that. I am going live this week, Waffle, so hopefully you're here. I can't see, Saleh, your team on Discord. Did I miss your team, my friend? Let me see if I can find it. Oh, I can see it now. So nice to see you on Discord, first of all. Let me just actually put you in the private chat channel as well. Yeah, so I mean, your team this week. Oh, you're benching Semenyo, which is interesting. I mean, it kind of makes sense. Yeah. I do wonder if you play O'Brien over Munoz, but I think Munoz makes sense still. I'd probably play Dubravka over Kelleher. How many people have a decision to make between Dubravka and Kelleher? I feel like that's such a popular kind of move. Yeah, I can see his team in the FPL chat. Thank you so much, Razzle. Appreciate that. Most people going Bruno, right? So we've changed our mind on Haaland. We're cold on Haaland now. That's good. Hopefully he's actually below 100% EO 1 week. Then I'll actually not be bored watching Haaland play or scared. I do have a Discord PM last minute, of course, so just shoot that over. Is that you, Lofgren? Yep. What would I do? You want Saliba in and maybe not Rice to go against your small league. If I'm being honest, right, I don't think you're really gonna dictate your mini league by whether you own Rice or a Timber or a Saliba. I would just go with the best option. Like I think Rice is strong on that basis, right? Like you've got someone like Bruno G. You kind of need to replace midfielders. Spending moves on defenders doesn't really make sense to me, especially when you actually this week have 4 really good defenders. You've got Rodon, Gabriel, Tarkowski, and Chalobah, and you actually have 2 midfielders with issues. I personally would go Rice 100%. The mini league can be won much later in the season with the different trip strategy you have, with the different wild card that you have in the second half of the season. It's not worth it for me to do that. I would play Dubravka as well. I'd leave Dorgu as an issue for now. What I would probably do is actually try to cut down someone within the midfield position within your team to a cheaper price point, or actually just with the Saka money, like you can kind of play around, right? Like maybe just go Rice plus another strong pick, like for example, Mbumo. If you can do something like that. I just really think it doesn't make any sense to go Saliba because you have 2 midfield issues, generally speaking. Like maybe if you really like Bruno G and keeping him for the permanent, but I think it probably makes sense to own someone like Mbumo for an extended fixture run, right? Still over him, so I'd probably just do that. So thank you so much for the super chat. Bench Kelleher for Dubravka last week, lost 10 points. Yeah, but that doesn't mean that you're going to get 10 points this week for, I guess, benching Dubravka for Kelleher, if that makes right. Or, I mean, like, or vice versa. So it's like, to me, unfortunately, like FPL is kind of a game where you've got 50-50 decisions each week. And I feel like last week people were just hard done by. And not to mention, of course, it's like 10 versus 11. And there are a couple unlucky chances, I think, as well. So, I mean, this week, I'm pretty sure the clean sheet odds for Brentford were something really low, like maybe like, I don't know, 20-ish%. I think Burnley is marginally higher, which is why I would just play Keller Dubravka on that basis. Home games do really help. And he still makes a lot of saves most of the time. Yeah, you don't need to diff every week. And I just think sometimes it's, for example, like you wouldn't differentiate, like if all your mini league owns Haaland, let's say when he's performing a bit better, or Bruno, you're not going to use that as a position to differentiate, right? You're just going to have the same thing. And then the differentiation comes from the rest of your pick. So I think just use your 2 free transfers wisely in terms of like issues with your team, I would say. Thoughts on bringing Wirtz over and Mbeumo for Zach? I think that makes sense. I've seen some people go Wirtz because I think it's a little bit more of a long-term play, or maybe a bet that he's just simply going to overperform Mbeumo, right? Yeah. Start Nunez or Hall, definitely Hall. I mean, Hall. This is such a good game for Hall. I would definitely go there. I'm just gonna quickly double check super chats because I might have missed some. I think I said I was specifically going to look for messages from for Rans as well. Let me just quickly check for that. A couple super chats that I've missed in the meantime. Start Tarkovsky or Anderson. Anderson for sure, James Co. Thank you so much for your super chat. Who to start, Senesi or Krupi from Salem? I would start Senesi personally. I still think a home game's nice. I like his minutes. I think the DEFCON's guaranteed. It probably makes him a little bit more appetizing than Krupi, especially with Krupi's sort of reduced minutes at times. Intervention, thank you so much for your super chat. Hey, Fran, would you do Saka and Gravenberg to Rice and Rogers, or would you do the moves to others? I probably would. I mean, I still really like Rogers, but one thing that I don't love about Rogers is he is an extremely high ownership. So, for example, if you're a existing Rogers owner, I guess it's fine. But I'd probably go for maybe someone like maybe Ismail Assar. If you think he's on penalties for a few weeks, like he's literally got Burnley and Wolves after this, so game week 26 and 27. I'd probably actually go for him for a few weeks as a bit of a punt if in the midfield. But that's up to you. If you can go for Rogers and you want to go for Rogers, you can go for that. But it's just the idea that Rogers is around 50% ownership kind of makes me think it's not so worth it to make that move to take advantage of the rest of the field. Not that Rogers is a bad pick, but just the idea that you can actually take on the field and the ownership, right? And you can probably get more sizable rank game as a risk consequence of that. So for Rand, I'm going to quickly look for any messages you would have dropped in chat. Okay, sorry. So your message was, hi, Fran. I want to bench one of Haaland, Anderson, Rogers, and Enzo. What do you think? I bench Haaland for now. Wow, that's pretty risky. But I think if you're 100% convinced that Haaland is bench Haaland. But I personally, in most circumstances, I think would just bench Rogers. Benching Haaland for Semenyo, I don't mind that so much. Does everyone here actually think Haaland's going to be benched? Let's actually do a poll on that. Because I'm actually quite shocked how many people are suggesting benching Haaland. I just think if Haaland is not benched, you're probably not going to make that move, right? Oh my God, the deadline's passed. Did I even make my moves? What am I doing? This is what happens when you finish work like literally at 6 something and you just have to jump on a stream at like, I don't know. But thank you guys so much for joining on the stream. I really apologize. But yeah, most people seem to think Haaland won't be benched. Like I literally, yeah, I think he's just rested. The thing is, though, sometimes this is what happens in football. I'm not saying this is something that's gonna happen to Haaland, but it's like Marmoush deserves more minutes, and I think that also impacts Haaland's total minutes as well. Fast driver, thank you so much, Fran, the dedication. Yeah, I like that completely slipped my mind that there was a deadline. Oh God, that's shocking. Take care, guys. Hope you guys have a lovely week. And enjoy. Well, enjoy first of all, I guess, Leeds versus Nottingham Forest, which I probably won't enjoy if I'm honest. But then Just because from an FPL point of view, I actually like don't want Anderson to do well. Like so many people own Elliot Anderson. I'm not saying he's a bad pick. It's just, when you don't own a pick in FPL and you just think, yeah, hopefully he just doesn't do too well. All right, so that's going to be me for game week 25. Locked in. Yeah, thank you guys so much for joining the stream. Literally going to tweet my moves now. Yeah, that was a pretty fun stream, I would say. What do you guys think you're going to do next week? I'm actually quite curious, just in terms of anyone who stayed in the stream, like how many of you guys are tripling up on Arsenal in a different way? So we've done the Haaland bench poll. I'm kind of curious if it's like triple defense, Timber, Gabriel, Raya, or is it Timber, Gabriel, Rice, or maybe Gabriel, Raya, Rice, or yeah, because I know some people will go Madueke and Trossard, right? Let's be honest. Good luck, Fran. You're doing well. Thank you. I like VDV plus Anderson. Leave a like and subscribe. Thank you, Lambie. Triple defense is the way to go. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people have some form of triple defense, right? So the first, I guess, option one, and did I miss a key variation? Okay, the most popular one is Gabriel Raya Rice, which makes sense, right? Because Rice's ownership is probably one of the highest. Yeah, the Rice variations are the most popular. Okay, so wow, that's actually like some pretty insane Rice ownership. Did I do the same team twice? No, I didn't. Okay, just wanted to check if I'm an idiot. Am I? No, I'm not. Maybe I am for something else, but I did Sharky to Somerville and Sobo to Rice, and next week maybe VVD to Timber, and I benched Rogers instead of Ekatike. That makes sense to me. Defense output is more reliable than who's going to do points up front. I agree. That's kind of why I don't really want to touch. I mean, I think Rice is still reliable, right? Because at least the minutes are reliable from Rice. And then, of course, there's the DEFCON piece, which is quite reliable in of itself. And then, of course, he's a set piece king. Although, I don't think he scored a free kick since he dropped 2 on my head versus Real Madrid. Terrible. Rice, Saliba, Gabriel, not very different, but that's still very strong. Is Rice an option for TC? Probably not. I think I'd still go Gabriel. Is there any other Arsenal mid that is worth a punt other than Rice? Do I think? I think it's like Madueke, Trossard, but I don't really think they're truly worth a punt. It kind of goes back to how I was responding to one of the other kind of members on the channel, where I think it's not worth making your difference against the field, kind of going for a little bit of a riskier Arsenal pick. Now, maybe Saliba actually works really well because, of course, he's kind of not popular, but he's a solid pick. But you kind of get my point. Like, I think the gist of just generally going for an attacker from Arsenal that's a bit more rogue isn't really worth it. Let's just close that poll there. So, yeah, thank you guys so much for joining and staying. Really do appreciate the support. Hopefully I can be a bit more responsive, but yeah, just completely swamped recently, and that's it. Yeah, I've just been tired, so exhausted. Yeah. If Palmer gets injured, you won't see me again until next week, of course. I think part of the appeal to Palmer is, okay, you can probably say he hasn't looked perfect, right? Just from a footballing standpoint. But I think the appeal to Palmer is, once again, I, for example, was talking about how I don't necessarily like going into Rodgers, right? Because, like, if everyone owns Rodgers, it doesn't really feel like you need to necessarily go there. You can probably take a different alternative path and hope for the best with lower ownership. I think with regards to Rice, for many people, you have to go Rice anyways because you're kind of replacing Saka. It's quite easy to do the one free transfer move of Saka to Rice. Now, the reason why I ultimately just wanted to go for Palmer is because if you guys know my money in the bank, right? I'm a rich man this season, at least. Most seasons I am, let's be honest, I'm a transfer terrorist. I still have enough money in the bank to go from one of my defenders into Timber with one free transfer. I still have money in the bank in my team right now to go from Enzo Lefebvre to Rice. Um, where I going to do anything if I didn't miss the deadline? The only thing that I would have possibly changed was vice captain Gabriel to vice captain Palmer. I don't think that means anything. All the best for the game week to you as well, Salah. Um, yeah, I know you love your differential, so I see you're the type of person who I would expect to have gone for the differential, and I think you will obviously. Missed the deadline. Good job. You already set my team up. Well done. I think that's like classic FPL manager 101, where it's like you already set your like I feel like I already set my team most of the time immediately after the next deadline, right? Because you just want to look at your bust team all week, and it should be a good bust team. Tottenham will win. Why are you doing this to me? Why are you doing this to me? Why are you doing that to me? I need Maguire points desperately, right? Krupi Jr. Evan Nilsson? I mean, I'd probably go Evan Nilsson. Who would start, Guehi or Richards? I think Richards is close, honestly, especially since he can do a bit of DEFCON, right? So the clean sheet odds are kind of close. There are so many Twitter DMs that I've missed this week just because I've literally just been so busy. It's sad. Tottenham being the reason that United can't cut hair would be a very Tottenham thing to have. Yeah, but let's not do that. Because I really do need a Maguire haul and I do need a Bruno haul. Or at the bare minimum, if Tottenham really want to get a draw or a win, just concede to Maguire's head, please. Are we captaining Gabriel next week? Probably, yeah. You've got double Liverpool attack. Nice. Yeah, that makes sense, especially if you're benching Guehi, right? Yo, from the man, Timber, Gabriel, Raya, Chalobah, or Timber, Gabriel, Sanchez, Chalobah. I'd probably go... No, you kind of need to go triple Arsenal, so I would just go triple Arsenal. Do I think Bruno G starts? Yeah, Guehi doesn't make sense there. Do I think Bruno G starts? I've got no clue. The lack of information just isn't worth it most of the time, right? I've just read someone responding to my Palmer pick. The response was no crying at the casino. Fair enough. But this is kind of the casino that I want to be in, right? If I'm going to be rich, I might as well do something with it. Se que quieres hacerlo, given to Douglas Luiz propaganda. I sold Bruno G. Yeah, I think that's fine. I think Bruno G is touch and go out of your FPL team, basically. I respect the Maguire pick. Look, I am going to get a Maguire goal eventually, and he's going to be in my FPL team when that happens. So let's just say that. You captain Tati. Okay, that's quite serious. I support Real Madrid. Do I have an English team? No, I don't. I mean, I guess because obviously when I was young, Chelsea was quite a dominant team, so I think I followed Chelsea a lot, right? Just because, of course, that sort of Mourinho and Mourinho post era of teams was just quite dominant. So, and my favorite color was blue, but that was literally my attachment was only to that iteration of team and that squad, like players like Drogba, Lampard, etc. I probably wasn't actually consistently watching 90 minutes of like Chelsea defending, so I can't say that I'm like some sort of humongous Chelsea fan. I actually have ended up watching quite a few games of the Stamford Bridge, but yeah, I really don't have any affinity to any Premier League team today. It is a bit strange, but I think it kind of makes sense as long as like I watch the Premier League because it's kind of the most competitive football league in the world. I'm someone who's quite competitive, just generally speaking. So it's like if I follow a sport, I don't really necessarily need to be, in love with the team. I kind of think I just like seeing high level of play. Now, the beauty, I guess, of the Premier League in recent years is that, yeah, the mid table, the bottom half of the table has gotten so much better. So do I even feel bad watching, for example, this season, obviously, Bournemouth are probably a little bit lower compared to our expectations. But yeah, if I watch a game like Bournemouth versus Leeds, I know I'm probably going to actually enjoy watching the match. Whereas if I watch like a bottom half sort of team versus another in La Liga, like I just it's I'm not watching that game. It's as simple as that. Was the third Arsenal defender over João Pedro a bad move? I don't think so necessarily. I think surely you can always get the third Arsenal defender next week, right? Thanks, Fran. I have to go and do. Oh, you're doing WSL. Well, I can't say that I have a cheat sheet on WSL, but there are managers in the world who do prepare kind of materials around WSL. So uh, I believe that there is a Discord server called Bullet Wisdom, and I think they frequently kind of share projection kind of models of WSL. I wouldn't say that they kind of have something in a cheat sheet style vein like myself, where I think the cheat sheet is sort of my usage of my blending of sort of my own understanding of the game, my own interpretation of minutes, me tracking how markets are projecting certain players to do, me tracking how models are, in the FPL space specifically are projecting players to do, and then kind of assimilating between everything and just going with my opinion. But I think obviously since you're probably a little bit more in tune with Wins Fantasy, I don't think you'll struggle, for example, with just using a model potentially if you do follow the game. But I guess if you don't, let's say, watch WSL, a model could still work out like very, very well. You just missed the stream? All good. I came into the stream late. I did see the Reddit post about a cat being ranked 200 and something in the world. I'm losing my voice. I don't know why. Have I talked about my chip plans? Roughly speaking, wildcard 32, nothing exceptional. Let me refresh the page so we can get that. The game week deadline is passed. Yeah, game week 32. And then everything is on the table. Possibly, I mean, I could even wildcard 34. It just really depends on, like, you know, what the slate is. We need Maguire Empire. That's quite a nice nickname for him. Thank you, sir. All right, sorry, I missed a couple chat messages. I just want to kind of just track what my friends and my colleagues are doing. Palmer Captain thoughts? Good luck with that. Does Disasi go straight into the XI? Probably, yeah, because they've got a couple players suspended, right? Can you still get a good rank even if you don't wildcard 32? Of course. Like, I will tell you, when the season I finished top 500, I was in an amazing rank in the middle of the season. And for whatever reason, I decided to be aggressive against the field, knowing that if I did an early wildcard strategy, I'd probably be able to, amass a lot of points and maybe just kind of continue with my streak and maybe eke out the ability to kind of deal with the later wildcard. Now, as it turned out, I literally somehow created a team that had more players in a blank game week than other people, but not Phil Foden in the team. And I somehow had 4 injuries in 2 weeks in FPL, and the wild card just completely capitulated. But the funny thing is because I didn't wild card at the same time as everyone else when they did a later wild card, and despite me sort of dropping my rank from somewhere like 5k to let's say 10 12k in the world, sorry, top 500 to around, well, sorry, top 300ish to like maybe like around 12,000 in the world or 9,000 in the world. When people wildcarded, I was around 9,000. So I thought, okay, the rest of the season, I'm done. I don't have a wildcard versus everyone else. I have just terrible players. But the funny thing was, in that season, I actually decided to go Gusto, which a lot of people in the wildcard didn't want to go with because they were kind of doubting his minutes. And I also went with Guardiola, who at the time people weren't really interested in going for his minutes because on a wildcard, you kind of want to play it safer. Sometimes that's generally the strategy people take. And then, of course, if you guys remember in 23-24, like Guardiola went pretty insane. And there was also a match where, because a lot of people own Sanchez on the wild card, I think Brighton had conceded to Chelsea through a Gusto assist. And Gusto actually got taken off the pitch before Chelsea conceded. And in that match, I think Reece James, who was the other popular Chelsea defensive pick, got a red card. So Then Brighton scored in the last minute of the game, and I think I had like just a net something like 13, 12 points. And like those kind of things in FPL, it's kind of crazy, but that comes as a result of everyone else kind of roughly being on like that 60 to 80% of the managerial kind of, more in tune base, like going with one wildcard strategy, and they have a predominant set of picks that are pretty popular within that strategy. And when those picks flop and your picks, which have, 2% ownership, 3% ownership, all pop off with like double digit hauls, like you can absolutely smoke a late wild card, or, the predominant strategy. It is just kind of luck though, right? In the sense that once you do something like that in terms of your chip strategy, you're basically through chips, and then obviously the effective ownership of your players because of the difference in the chip strategy, taking on a lot of risk. And it can work out massively. It can also be super painful because last season, I would say my chip strategy was quite different to the rest of the field because I wanted to chase my rank a little bit more. So I took obviously different free hit routes as everyone else. And as you guys know, 3 of 34 went nuclear. I went 3 of 33, which was possibly the mildest free hit known to man. And that also meant that I didn't own like Aston Villa and City picks for the back half of the season when things like the Konsa goal was happening after the free hit, when City just kept on keeping every single game a clean sheet. And ironically, for the game that I owned, double Aston Villa, double City, I just couldn't do anything. I had nothing from Guardiola, I had nothing from KDB, despite two 90-minute games. And that just happens from time to time. So yeah, it can be immensely painful, immensely rewarding. Both Andy Focal went to Rice Mix, and something to be honest, when you have Saka in your team, you're just replacing. As I said, a lot of people are just going to go for a like for like. And at the same time, I also think it's very unlikely that people would have gone Saka to Palmer like myself, because my team value allows me to go from someone in my team in defense to go to Timber. Whereas most people kind of have to just make the decision now, which is, I either drop Saka to someone like Mbumo and then go Timber, or I go for Saka to Rice, and that's just one free transfer, and I get to continue to roll the bank of free transfers that I have. Free at 19 this year was horrid. If you remember, free at 12, sorry, what was the free hit when City played versus Burnley? Was it game week 7? That was awful as well this year, if you remember. I remember, I think every City pick except for Holland basically blanked, and they also conceded to the GOAT, otherwise known as Jaden Anthony. That was game week 6, yeah. Good. Palmer over Rice this week. Yeah, I like Palmer over Rice this week, and I can still go Rice next week. I can still go Timber. I like the optionality of being able to wait for it. Fran, you did before the deadline Rogers to Wirtz. I like it. I like Wirtz. If your team is still good in gaming 32, would you still wildcard regardless, or what's? Yeah, I would, because I like. Okay, I think the wild card just allows you to better plan for a couple of weeks. I don't really see the need to, for example, use a wild card as a free hit later in the season. I think it's very likely with the way that I've used my transfer so aggressively this season that I'm going to need the wild card. Maybe my team's in a good shape, but I still think I'm going to wild card just to make sure that I can accumulate a couple of free transfers in and around the sort of double game week in the back half of the season, and then benefit. Game week 6 and 17 for triple captain both gave 17 points for Holland. Yeah, times 3. And even without TC for those game weeks, probably lost out to the field. True story. True story. Looked at wildcard 32 and projected matches if Brighton and Chelsea double. For Brugge and Sanchez, but Dubravka could be popular keepers. Yeah. Well, I mean, like, also, like, I like, that's nice, but it's like at the end of the day, you're just gonna wait for the fixtures to come, right? And then you can just react. That Guardiola pick helped me top my mini league. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, Guardiola is like one of my favorite FPL players. Even last season, he was amazing for me. Obviously, I fell off a cliff last season, but that's not Guardiola related, I suppose. Um, which one would you have started? Krupi, VVD, KDH, Lacroix? Yeah, start Krupi for sure. For sure. You like the Palmer move? I appreciate that, brother. Who would you say is the best long-term player to own other than Bruno, Holland, and Gabriel? Very good question. Um, Maybe like someone kind of like Bertz or Mbumo, I would say. Fran, you bought Calafiori this week. Yeah, I hope he starts for you. I think the problem that I would say with Calafiori is maybe just the tight fixture turnaround is not ideal for him, right? So, for example, let's say he's someone who's coming back from injury. I'm pretty sure he, didn't start versus Chelsea, so that just gives him the scope to play this week. And in theory, like if you look at the FA Cup schedule, it kind of makes sense that Hincapié would kind of just play cup games. But I don't know, like him playing Chelsea is interesting. Maybe it's just because the turnaround was so tight that, in the best world where both Calafiori and Hincapié was fit, Calafiori definitely plays versus Chelsea. But yeah, I think more often than not, I think Calafiori is going to pop off as a pick, and I hope that works. Part of the reason why I want to buy Palmer, by the way, is that I really do want to captain Palmer in game week 27. Yeah, Burnley at home. I mean, I will be there. I will tell you this now. Gyökeres is capped going out with the bang. I mean, what do you mean going out with the bang? You still have multiple game weeks to play. I guess you can go out with the bang in game week 26 because that's probably you could sell him after that, right? Do you think we should field one more player in FPL? Bench points show skill more often than no, I don't think so. Yeah. I mean, I just think, for example, if bench points show skill and you kind of genuinely believe that as a concept, then I think the problem is like, okay, everyone would just kind of change their strategy, right? So it's not like a reflection of like, oh, this is actually a problem endemic with the game. I think people just, so for example, it's like, having, let's say, I don't know, a 15 for 14 player, might be more important going forwards, but people currently place like less importance on the 13th and 14th player already. So suddenly, I guess just shifting at one is not going to be massively different. Like you already kind of do benefit from auto subs, I guess. I think they have changed the pricing where, of course, it's almost impossible to not have a good auto sub. Like at times, like some of the 4.0 defenders are just very solid. As of now, are you leaning towards Rice or Timber Saliba? Probably Timber Saliba, if I'm honest. Because I kind of think with my midfield picks, I would rather save the free transfers in the future to... Well, first of all, I mean, I do not need to make midfield transfers if I think I can keep playing Enzo Lefebvre. Not that I think this is like some sort of proud achievement, but yeah, I mean, that's kind of one thing. Other piece, I guess, is as long as I think Timber actually starts games, then I'm not so worried about owning him over Rice, right? It kind of feels like Timber is equivalent to Rice in some aspects. So yeah. Tiramisu or apple crumble? Tiramisu, man. Come on, it's not even close. I don't know. I'm quite into coffee, so like, am I biased? Sure, of course I am. I actually need to manage my anyone play fan team, stuff like that. I'll manage it on the side, but I'm happy to interact with chat. So if you see me just like staring into the distance, you'll know why I'm staring into the distance. Okay, so I would play. Man, I think I'm gonna play Van Heck here. Is Calvert-Lewin starting today? Tell me Calvert-Lewin starts. Yeah, all right, Calvert-Lewin starts. So that's interesting. That's pretty fun for me. But such a solid team this week, but then I actually don't know who to bench. Do I bench Sobo? No, I think I just benched Thiago. Oh, it's a bit rough though. Do I bench Sobo or Thiago? What would you guys do? VVD is a keep. I think that you can sell him for an Arsenal player for sure. You captain Somerville? No, I like that. You're thinking one player added only. I see what you mean. Benched. Yeah, I kind of want to bench. Well, it's not Thiago versus Arsenal this week. I'm just talking about fan team. So I'm still kind of thinking about Newcastle right now. Yeah, I think I kind of just have to play Thiago. Slobo's getting benched. Dun dun dun. And we're playing big DCL. Ooh. I wonder who I actually captain. Maybe it's Palmer. Or is it Bruno? Probably Bruno. It feels a bit safer than Palmer. Got triple Arsenal defense and a lot of players on my team. You love to see it. You love to see it. It's up to the deadline, 2:57. Yeah, when I was playing FPL in Hong Kong, I'm not gonna lie, like I don't tend to sleep, like just like fall asleep. I just stay up. But when I was playing from Hong Kong, it was just like painful. I was like watching football games until 5 a.m. and I just go to bed. Like sometimes I just kind of watch another game. Palmer against Leeds. What do you mean? Sorry. As in like, oh, are you? Oh, you're talking about my captaincy decision next week. No, sorry. Right now I'm managing a game called Fan Team, which is like another fantasy game, but it allows you to make decisions up until the deadline. So like, sorry, sorry, the deadline being the actual game that's being played. So the first game of the week. Sorry. Um, I don't know why, but I'm absolutely choking. I still have some menu in some of these teams, so that's been quite nice as a pick. Got Anderson here. I kind of want to sell Mateta, like he's such a frustrating own. There's no one really to buy in some of the positions. Probably just gonna get DCL. I do need triple Arsenal actually. Is this the week to go triple Arsenal? Probably not. In the midfield, do I go for Enzo is probably the biggest question in some of the teams that I have. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Enzo's worth it. Do I think Holland captain's a bad choice? Yeah, I think he's kind of marginally poor. I do hope Palmer rewards you this week. I think it's a little bit rough that Palmer has actually been outscored by Enzo. Like I think that's been unfortunate for sure. I don't yeah, I guess I do feel quite bad for people. I could go Ismaila Sarr, I guess. That would be quite a good pick. Yeah, I quite like that pick actually. Especially if Sarr has like good pen share. Yeah, I guess I'm gonna go there. Am I really parting ways with Sobo? That's so sad. It's breaking my heart. But yeah, Sobo's gonna go. I know I could bench some menu this week. Ooh, I quite like the team that I have. But I can't go triple Arsenal now. Unless I go like Madueke next week. Okay, I need to think about this a bit more deeply. Huh. Or is maybe Sobo just better than Semenyo actually? Yeah, I think I can actually bin off Semenyo instead. That would be fine. Because the problem with actually owning Semenyo long term is that he'll blank in the future, and so that's kind of going to impact me and my moves. And then if I save 2.1 in the bank, yeah, I've got an Arsenal player for next week. Calm. Cool. Missed the last minute sitter last game as well, and Enzo outscored him. The sitter being like the shot where he sent it into orbit. You started the season without Holland, and you felt like you have to bring in since then he's just a potato. Yeah, I can imagine how that is. Do you think it's better if I went for Anderson or was it better going for Somerville? Somerville's better for sure. Hey, Fran, would you like to say you really helped me out this season with recommendations on players and fixtures to target? Thank you so much, Roy. Really, really do appreciate that. Also, I'm literally on like completely suboptimal hours of sleep. So, yeah. Apologies if the entertainment factor is off today. On every team, I'm just selling Mateta to DCL. DCL, one of my favorite players. I'm going Sar. I think Sar makes sense. Yeah, it's kind of a bummer that Saka got injured. Not that I particularly like Saka, but it's just that he would have been useful for sure to just have around my team. And now the poor man's gone. All right, I've made transfers on most of my teams. I mean, the best team that I have right now is Raya Gabriel Timber and Fan Team. So triple Arsenal defense, Van Heck right now just anchoring the team, Tarkowski, Dorgu on the bench. In the midfield, I've got Bruno, Bowen, Palmer, Fernandez. Obviously, in this game, Bowen's a midfielder. So I've got a 3-4-3 as well with Haaland, Thiago, and Calvert-Lewin. So that's a pretty good team, if I have to be honest. Toot my own horn there. Hopefully they actually play well. And that's just not me crying. Oh, Shade got suspended. That's great. That's great. Who's a good pick now? I need to go Ismaila Sarr, but then the problem is I don't have triple Arsenal. That's devastating. I wonder if I could go... Trossard is so not worth it. I'm going to get so tilted if Trossard doesn't start 2 games in a row. I kind of have to make a move that downgrades one of my midfielders. Maybe Rice is the play. To be honest, yeah, Rice is not the worst thing in the world. I'll just go Rice. Ah, sadness. This game doesn't have DEFCON though, so it feels so sad to go Rice in a game like this. Or actually, maybe I could just go Calafiori. That could be interesting. Yeah. It's like a super punty team, I guess, that I have, but whatever. This is my worst performing team, so I don't really have to care about it so much. And then I got a Shade suspension, so I guess Dango is always someone who I can just pocket in the team in the back. Maybe that actually works out quite nicely. Just having like a Brentford player would work out quite well, I think, long term. Yeah, it could be like Uatara sat on the bench for a bit for me. I think Calafiori will start for sure, yeah, as well. I'm gonna go Uatara actually. See how that goes. Nice auto sub option as well. Worst case scenario. Actually, I could play Dango or Tarkowski, so that's gonna be quite fun for me. I do love that. So I'm kind of betting against Newcastle. Oh, don't want to be captaining Haaland on this team. There's like a multi-teaming aspect of things. I'm also going to captain Palmer on my worst team because, you know, why not? All right, so that's never played it. I mean, I wouldn't I can't recommend it because it's technically gambling, so it's it's not something that I'm going to endorse on the channel. Who do you think will win the Champions League? Probably a Premier League team, to be honest. Maybe like Arsenal, Liverpool. Wouldn't be surprised if White starts and Timber rests. I mean, I actually feel pretty comfortable saying that. Like that feels right, if that makes sense. And if I have that sort of conviction, like there's absolutely no reason for me to, you know, to even kind of like tempt myself with a -4 into Timber. Yeah. And I certainly wasn't interested in, for example, going Timber over, let's say, a midfield pick this week. I still think I'd pick Palmer over Timber, if that makes sense. Although some people, I guess, could argue otherwise. Like, yeah, some people could definitely argue otherwise, but, you know, it is what it is. One of the most boring things from a fantasy perspective is making the same move over and over again. Probably generally one of the most boring things I've done. Do you guys think Mateta will actually go out for surgery? So obviously that was kind of a talking point recently, right? Any kind of thoughts on that? Yeah, I can see you changed your username. No problem, Fad. Um, would you like to sell Palmer Enzo? Yeah, I'm gonna sell probably both Palmer and Enzo in Game Week 28. If Dango's alive, Dango. If I can go for something like, let's say, Wirtz plus Shade, I think I'm gonna do that. Like, or Wirtz plus Dango, right? So yeah. You started Elliot Anderson over Maguire. I think that makes perfect sense. If I had Elliot Anderson, I'd start him over Maguire as well. But I don't. I'm doing a lot of DCLs over Sobo. Hopefully that doesn't pan out to be a terrible move. And I guess some teams have decided to go quite aggressive and go for Ismail Assar. Some teams that are a bit less aggressive have decided to just keep Semenyo in the team. So let's see how that goes as well. Would you play Semenyo over Sobo this week? I kind of think I would. That's what I would do. It's one of the decisions that I have to make this week, but I think I'm pretty comfortable doing that. You know what, actually? I could have gone Calafiori this week with some of my players. That's actually quite tempting to myself. I might actually just do that on some teams. I don't think it's the riskiest thing. I think it's kind of fun, actually. Let's just do that on some of these teams. Let's go Calafio. Oh, but then I've got Van Heck on this team, so I don't really think it's worth it on the Van Heck team. Decisions. Yeah, actually, I'm going to change my mind. Not go for the Sar move. Because I can always go Sar next week. So I might as well just go Calafiori now to bench Tarkovsky. I'm going to keep Lacroix as well. And just sell Truffet. Truffet, who was really helpful last week when he actually got me a clean sheet. So it's an end of an era. But thank you for your service. So we've gone Calafiori in most teams. Nice. That can turn out so bad for me, but I don't really mind it. I think that's actually fine. My last team, yeah, was a Bruno team. Cool. Would you guys, like, let's say if DEFCON wasn't a thing, would you guys captain Palmer or Bruno? GSL Sarpino front three. At this point, he should take the surgery since they have a young backup striker. Yeah, but I guess like he wants to make it to the World Cup, right? That's kind of the reason why he doesn't want to do it. Wait, you're 500 in the world and first in your country? Man, that's awesome. Sobo will play right back and there's no DEFCON. Yeah, exactly. What do you think the top five will look like? Oh, top five. I don't know. I kind of think Aston Villa could still fall out, right? You know? If you have the logic of giving you a Palmer as a differential, why not captain him? That's basically logic to never captain the popular captain ever, right? So it's kind of like I won't use that as the basis for the decision. I'm just thinking like if you just generally think like I guess if you were just thinking who's the best player this week, is it Bruno? Is it Palmer? Like that's basically just the question that I'm asking. Because I think even Bruno captain to an extent is already quite a big differential this week. Like most people, maybe not actually. I guess the poll pulled quite strongly on Bruno, but even last week it was the same. And then the effective ownerships were actually still like quite marginally like tilted towards Holland, like to an extent that I actually thought was a bit much. But since then he's obviously continued to flop. Let's say, not like I'm trying to demean him, but yeah, you get the point. All right, I love my Calafiori teams right now. Hopefully they don't look as stupid as it sounds like, I guess, in hindsight. Cool. So I've managed all my teams there. Let's see how Twitter has responded to my moves. Someone says, you're one of the best content creators on XIMO. This is not a paid actor, by the way. Someone actually said this. He's not very kind. Yeah, who am I kidding? I've paid this person to say this to me. Rip the Palmer captain. Yeah, I didn't want to captain Palmer. Wasn't in the mood for it. Not implying you captain him because of the differential, but it's because it's Palmer and he's playing against Wolves. Yeah, but I actually think Wolves are like an underratedly good defense. Like they're bad this season, not really because I think their defense is like a joke, but more so because their attack is like, toothless. I do know Tottenham have marginally better defensive stats, not marginally, like significantly, I guess. But it's also like home versus away, and then also the case of like, what has Bruno done over the course of the season? He's on a couple more set pieces, also on penalties, whereas Palmer, for example, has lost a couple set pieces in comparison to, let's say, a Bruno. And there's like things like that, right? But it's a fair point though. Um, like honestly, last week I was quite impressed by the way Wolves played versus Bournemouth. Not that I'm saying like this is like this is not some sort of copium for me to be like, oh yeah, I've now bought the wrong pick in Palmer, but the Abraham denied goal ruined you. How so? Oh, is it because Kelleher was on your bench or something like that? What's the angle there? I've recently started playing League of Legends again because I've been kind of like swept up by the Los Ratones stuff. If anyone plays, you have Abraham both in draft and fantasy. I think I tried to pick him up in draft. I couldn't get them in my drafts though. I also can't remember whether I actually fielded any competent draft teams at all. Looking at my team, I would say the answer is no. Yeah, I think I benched Havertz versus Sunderland at home. Does that make sense? Probably not. Um, I've got some terrible teams. My goodness. Yeah, okay. I didn't take Josh seriously this week, and that's a problem. Somehow I've got Waltemad behind Coyote on my bench. Yikes. Am I watching the Super Bowl? I don't watch American football. I'm sorry. I do watch NBA. It's one of the sports that I follow like quite avidly, but yeah, I don't watch American football. That is unfortunate. Wait, someone actually forgot to buy rice. Oh, that's FPL mate. What happened? Surely he was streaming though, right? Oh, right. Oh, come on. I got duped, man. Oh man. That's terrible. I actually got baited by that. Will Timber play? I kind of think he won't start, but that's my bet. I'm not saying this is not like so not financial advice. Do you prefer uh a refresh FPL? Let's have a look. Do you think the team looks better with Palmer in it, guys? What do you think? Oh, points is still my last week points. I don't mind it. If I have 88 points every week, I'll take that. I'll take that. It's still showing pick team. Do you think I can change my team for this week? What do you guys think? I don't even dare change anything around. What I do, vice captain Palmer, save my team. Oh, it's cheeky. It's so cheeky from Fran. Let's refresh again, see what happens. What's going on here? Okay, yeah, it's changed. So that's obviously. Oh no, the vice captaincy didn't change. All right. On a serious note, what's my top rank in league, like ever? Before Emerald was a thing, and before they brought in Masters, I was just Diamond 3. That was it. Um, so I think no, sorry, before they brought in Grandmaster. So it used to be like Masters then Challenger, right? So when there was only those divisions at the time, yeah, my highest rank was D3. Um, I was probably better at StarCraft 2 in terms of like percentile terms. But generally, most games that I try to play, like I would be quite upset if I wasn't like if I was an active player, I would be quite upset that um I'm not like a top 1% player at the bare minimum. Like that's kind of the standard I hold myself to if I play a game. Um, Need to see what happens against Sunderland. You're captain Gyökeres to warm up for the. Oh, I see. So you got the warm up and then like you're just gonna get the full send. What about Gyökeres, guys? I don't know. I feel like with Havertz coming back too, it's just tough, right? I guess Odegaard actually not being around could be helpful for because Havertz could play more minutes in the midfield. Um, Plans for future weeks. Next week I have to buy an Arsenal player. Who that Arsenal player is, I'm not really sure, but we'll find out. Um, yeah, I think the rank's decent. Obviously, I had friends that were better. I did play in a lot of like kind of university level competitions at the time, so we kind of were actually facing off very frequently versus people like in D2, D1, and then the occasional challenger player, who was like a bit of a one trick. But yeah, like it was really fun. I really did enjoy playing League. Although I kind of hate the game as well. Like I've got a love hate relationship with it. But now probably I'm a little bit more mellowed out as an individual as I've grown older. I think it was tough moving from a 1v1 game like StarCraft 2 to suddenly playing like a team oriented game where I think when you're playing solo queue, it is frustrating that people don't operate as a unit. Whereas when I was playing kind of my uni competitive games and we were doing competitions, like that kind of felt like the true essence of League for me. But I think I could have just spent more time just individually getting better, which probably would have been better. I just changed my role too often, probably tried too many champions. Should have just one trick something and actually got good. Um, yeah, I was playing a lot of New L tournaments. If anyone has played within the UK university circuit, do you prefer Verts or Mbumo until Wildcard 32? Probably Verts. Someone actually asked a question that I've missed. Oh, which NBA team do I support, if any? Unfortunately, I don't. Um, I would say, yeah. Once again, it's one of those sports where I just follow like for the highest level competition, and I just love following it from that perspective. There are players I like, but yeah. What's my favorite series I've ever watched? I think like I guess recency bias, but maybe Succession. Um, Possibly. Yeah. What do I like as well? I mean, I would like to say The Wire because The Wire influenced me a lot. I think when I grew up and I watched it the first time round. I can't really say The Sopranos because I think no. You know what? I would say Mad Men. Mad Men for me. Yeah. Right now, I do love Mad Men. I look like I love Kyrie. Yeah. I guess on the court. Let's just say that. Nah, Kyrie's incredible. To be honest, I'm actually a Luca fan, right? Because he's a Madridista as well. Madridista, sorry. Yeah. So Luca's someone I do love. Yeah. I rewatched Mad Men and I was like I was crying on a couple episodes. I do like crying. When I watch something that I think is good. Not because like something super emotional is happening in terms of like oh like someone passing away or whatever, but just like honestly if stuff like if stuff is hitting good and it's well done like I don't know it let's just say I get moved. Um, I think Mad Men is definitely underrated. Lost gets cooked after season one. Yeah, well, do you like any of the other shows from the same showrunner? I can't remember what his name is. It's Damien. I mean, I loved Watchmen from season one, but that's also literally like a one season show, right? Damon Lindelof, right? I mean, in theory, I guess if you think that Lost gets cooked after one season, then obviously, like I guess you would have liked the leftovers more, right? Does that make sense? Given how you approach FPL, I think your Fav NBA player is Jokic. Not a bad shout. Is this because of efficiency? Um, I kind of like the shout. I kind of like the shout. I would say my playstyle is quite different to him, though. I think he's a bit more controlled as a player. Um, like I think my playstyle is kind of chaotic. I like trading a lot, if that makes sense. So I guess like very end to end. Probably defense isn't great, which I guess is kind of like Jokic. But I feel like he just has complete control and dominance over the game. I just think you can never have that in a game that has this much luck, in my opinion. Like I think skill expression in FPL is, there is a cap to it that I think is quite low for a competitive game. if you even see it as a competitive game. I know people like to say FPL is for fun. Let's be honest, I don't play this game for fun. I'm trying to do as best as I can, but you can get really into it, and then suddenly it's like at the end of the day, you live in sort of the other word by your rank, and so it's frustrating at times with the amount of luck in it. I would say, yeah. I would. It's kind of tough. I don't really want to use 3 words. Um, I'm gonna think about an NBA player. Um, I mean, to be honest, I don't want to say like some offensive player who actually like, is not efficient though. That's the problem. Um, hmm, an NBA player. All right, I'll give you 3 words. Cade Cunningham. Come on, not like this, man. I'm not. I like Cade, but not that much. I mean, um, hmm. I'm trying to think of. I don't want to choose someone too young who's like not that good yet, because I do think I'm actually quite decent. Not that this is meant to be a flex. It's just an honest thought. Mm, hmm. Hello. Your favorite anime player is Dirk? Yeah, I mean Dirk is a legend. I actually really am into history of sports that I follow. Like, okay, obviously I'm a bit younger and I haven't watched like, I guess older iterations of players and teams, but yeah, I just love the idea of understanding, I guess, the development of a sport. So it's actually a bit of a struggle. Unique playstyle, high rank. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to think. Does it sound so? Does someone actually play basketball in a tremendously unique way? It's like almost as if you had a post game now, right? And suddenly, like, you're being highly efficient somehow. I basically just don't like. I don't like that people think that there are conventional rules to how you should play this game. And I also think that people kind of mismanage things like minutes, which I think is ultimately the most important thing in playing FPL. So, oh yeah, you know what? I like the Wemby shout. I like the Wemby shout. I wouldn't say like I'm not sure if I play defense as good. Um, because for example, like but you listen to his quotes, for example, on how the Spurs play, and I quite like it. Like I quite like the mentality, if that makes sense, right? The whole like, oh, we try to play basketball, and other teams try to stop us from playing basketball. That sort of mentality piece, I kind of quite like from him. Um, yeah, Jokic is a unicorn. I just think Jokic is almost like, yeah. Well, Jokic and Wemby are certainly both unicorns. I mean, Wemby might actually just be the best defensive player we've ever seen, like even at his current age. I really don't think that's like a horrendous take. Steve Nash. Oh, that's a good point. I don't know, but it's like, do I like Steve Nash? I guess everyone kind of thinks of Steve Nash as like the worst player to ever win 2 MVPs. Although it's like, that's a very exclusive list of players. I do like Brunson a lot. Yeah. I love watching Brunson in the playoffs because it's the hero ball that I kind of like because it almost feels like hero ball because his team's just awful. Like it's not like he chooses to kind of go hero ball. It's just like late in a game, my team literally just cannot play a possession out properly or like even half decently. So this is what I have to do to win, if that makes sense. Manu Ginobili, it's a nice choice. My favorite quote is the I don't even actually know if it's real because I haven't actually heard it, but it's like when Popovich is like saying that he'd like to use what do you call it? He'd like to use Ginobili like a bar of soap until there's nothing left. Like I find that so hilarious as a quote. You have Joe Pedro and Holland and Creepy on top. I mean that's lovely. Like I think enjoy this game week, my friend. As a Knicks fan, Brunson is so good, and he's barely 6 foot. Yeah, yeah. I don't disagree. I mean, Josh Hart as well is kind of like that. If you're talking about height and then just conversion in terms of like the rebounding and stuff. Although obviously, like, I guess it's hard to tell because I almost think that I would ascribe Josh Hart as being like more of a postseason player, where I think maybe like in the regular season he's not so what do you call it? Like he's not so, I guess he's not min maxing. So I actually love Jimmy Butler, by the way. Yeah, because you know what I kind of like about Jimmy Butler is, yeah, it does feel like he's completely maximized his game. Do you play NBA fantasy at all? I don't. Unfortunately, I don't. I don't really have any friends to play with. Although, someone from the FPL space did suggest that I play. I think Seb, if you guys know him on Twitter. But the problem with that is just, I mean, I simply, I mean, I didn't want to play in a 2-man league, and yeah, it wasn't so interesting from that perspective. So Buzz Light to Wilson or Rice. I mean, go Rice for sure. You kind of just need to have that Arsenal player, I would say. Oh, NBA fantasy would be really cool if it was structured like FPL. Yeah, but I think it's almost impossible as well, right? The Heat fans, some of my best memories watching basketball involved playoffs. Yeah, I mean, come on. Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, Butler's just, yeah, kind of love a player like that. Isn't the deadline closed? It absolutely is, my friend. It absolutely is. You played a wild card by mistake. Oh man, that's. I don't think there's the problem with Calafiore in the wild card. I think it's just the fact that you've wild carded. I do feel extremely bad for you. Um, yeah, let's just say I'm sorry that happened. Why am I streaming after the deadline? Just hang out and chat. I'm here anyways. You've been in MSG, Boston Garden, American Airlines Center. That's a pretty good selection of places to go. You have plans to bring in Dango or Wilson 28? I actually think I don't need to go so cheap, but let's see. Because if you think about it, even if I was to replace like Palmer and LaFay, I don't think it's a huge impact in terms of I guess like pivoting. You maybe want Wirtz in 28. I don't follow cricket, unfortunately. I'm probably going to go Wirtz in 28. That's basically my move. Because if you kind of look at Palmer to Wirtz, I think it's a perfect move. Um, yeah, pretty. I've done decently with points this season. It's gone quite well. Um, It's been fun, shall we say? I mean, this time last season, I think I was probably a bit lower ranked. But yeah, I mean, it's always nice to have a good season. Like I literally will never complain. Any consideration to Gabriel triple cap? I'll probably consider doing it. Rank 122. Yeah, that's just you've been on an awesome roll, man. Well done. That's all I can really say. I think just have fun. If I don't triple Arsenal, then is this still worth? No, you have to triple Arsenal. I think so. You're first in Belgium. If you keep it up, you win at England. Oh my god, that's awesome. So who's organizing the Belgian prizes? You don't know why you still have Bruno Junior team. Fair enough. Are you Newcastle fan? Yeah. Wonder what Holland's EO will be. I think surely we know already, right? Let me check. Um, I think. Let's see. The FPL deadline was indeed today. I'm sorry to hear that you're here. Bruno captain 82%. Oh, Bruno 141, Holland 108 in the top 10k. Obviously, top 10k is not indicative of the rest of the kind of ranks, but that gives you a bit of flavor. So basically, when I watch City play, I don't care about Holland. When I watch Bruno play, of course, I still care. Not that much because he's been such a popular captain. But that also means a lot of people went with different captains, right? So that still means a lot of people went with different captaincy picks, which is interesting. Kick and Rush podcast organized. Oh, that's pretty cool. Oh, with the travel organization as well. Are they like kind of sponsored or? I'm streaming after the deadline because I'm literally just I've got nothing to do right now. I mean, I'd be here anyways. And the wife is not home. The wife is not home. She's at work. So yeah, I guess it do be like that sometimes. Yeah, that's pretty cool though. What is Bruno's EO? I think around like 150%. It's 141%, sorry. Top 10k though. Top 10k obviously being a I mean I don't really know why I need to go triple Arsenal if I can go Palmer, right? You know you're a Madrid fan, but is there a Premier League team I support? No, not even loosely, unfortunately. Um for me, I think it makes more sense in my team to go triple Arsenal next week. Because I'd say Palmer's marginally better than Rice this week, and I would also say that I think if Timber has a chance of being provisionally benched, there's absolutely like even a sliver of a chance just makes it not really worthwhile for me. Um, I just also don't like the idea of like if I can go for like a 10% EO Palmer, like I'm gonna go for a 10% EO Palmer. Does that make sense? So yeah. If you don't have triple Arsenal defenses, it then still worth it to triple captain. Well, yes, it is because I just simply refuse to believe that there's that many people like that many people will actually go for an alternative, or sorry, like go for the triple captaincy. So you have a huge kind of alternative TC that I think is nice. You went Tarko to Timber. Thought Timber would start. I think he can still start. I mean, who's saying Timber won't start? Am I crazy? Something happened? Arsenal aren't playing tonight, right? Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I might not. I don't know. It's like it's kind of hard. I think the nice thing is that the City double could be tougher, right? We'll see. We'll see. I mean, City's definitely gonna have a blank unless they really completely choke the FA Cup. I think it's more or less 50-50. I think I've seen so many predictions with yeah, like an implied benching basically. You may be answering this question, but are you considering TC next week? No, not really. The work mini league, 8 out of 20, Captain Gabriel. What's up with that? Oh wow! Wow, Gabriel's ownership is like 100%. Okay, so I literally do not care about the Arsenal match. I actually just want Rice and Timber to do nothing. But is that gonna happen? Unlikely, I would say. Would you have took the risk on Timber or played it safe with Saliba? Um, I think playing it safe with Saliba is actually a very high quality move, especially since you're doing Hincapie. Like for me, I think it just makes more sense to give myself the option of going Timber next week. But yeah, you know, yeah, we'll see how Palmer goes tomorrow. I guess we'll find out how exactly stupid that move was. I guess. Well, you're likely to free hit on a blank, and we'll still have a double, and you're unlikely to like we'll still have a double after our wild card on 32, right? So I guess conventionally that's kind of like how things would go, if that makes sense. Semenyo, Rogers, and Bumo. And Bumo, Rogers, Semenyo in that order. Pretty close though. This is only because I think that the knock on sort of additional blank game week has an impact on both. Hey, Alessandro, how are you? All right. Will there be 2 more double game weeks? Well, possibly yes, possibly no. I mean, you can always free hit a blank though, right? Watching any Winter Olympics or Six Nations? Not really. I mean, I'm still. This is a pretty, I guess. Yeah, like this is not a sports season for me, I suppose. I'm still kind of waiting for the NBA season to finish in terms of the regular season. And then I just watch football. Um, would you hold Semenyo till 31? Yeah, for sure. I'd hold Semenyo till 31. It's more about like if you wanted to make a move, it kind of makes a bit less sense to go Semenyo. But if you wanted to, own him up until then, yeah, you're chilling. All right, I think I'm pretty much done. I'm gonna get ready to watch the game. And we'll see. Thank you guys so much for watching the stream. I'll see you guys soon. Hope you guys have a wonderful game week, and yeah, take care, and I'll see you soon.